at the Circuit Paul Ricard for the penultimate race weekend of World Series by Renault. Well, the former home of the French Grand Prix, then a high-test tech track. Paul Ricard has once more returned to racing in the last 5 or 6 years, and again hosts World Series by Renault. It's fast sweepers and long straights and very abrasive runoff areas make it a particularly demanding track for the drivers of these Formula Renault 3.5 cars. And we are here for the second race of the weekend. First one comfortably yesterday by Carlos Sainz, and he is on the front row again, Tom Gaymore, so everything looking very good indeed for him this weekend.
Yeah, very good for Carlos Sainz Jr. His 7th pole position and 6th win yesterday, and what a time to do it. Really bounce back and establish himself back at the top of the championship points, and a real sucker blow to Roberto Merhi, who has been the man of the moment of the last few rounds. But for me, the big talking point away from the championship fight, Pierre Gasly, his first pole position in World Series by Renault, the Red Bull Junior. What a great place to do it on his home soil, Paul Ricard in France, and he'll be searching for his first win. And for me, you know, I don't like to say people deserve it, but it'd be great to see him on the top step.
Well, yesterday's first race again in beautiful conditions, and it was Sainz and Gasly first and second on the grid in that order. Today they're reversed. Sainz took the start in the Dams car as Gasly was left to fight everybody else into the first corner. And there was trouble for Ollie Rowland, got up into 3rd place, but immediately sideways and off the track. And it became clear later in the lap why. A left rear puncture that dropped him right to the tail of the field. The safety car was scrambled immediately. Pietro Fantin and Jazeman Jaffar were both left at the side of the track, and Ollie Rowland then coming in, having had wretched luck, but a very quick car underneath him. He'd gone from 8th to 3rd in the run to the first corner, a mercurial start. At the restart, Carlos Sainz leading the field, and again jumped away to leave the rest to squabble behind. Yellow car of his Dams teammate Norman Nato started 17th, working his way up the order, but the man on a mission was Ollie Rowland. This one of his many passes, making contact with Minot Van Buren, and Van Buren then picking up a puncture as a result. Well, Sainz didn't exactly disappear over the horizon, but as the race progressed, he was getting further and further away. Zol Amberg being clumped by Norman Nato. Nato at that stage taking 10th position away from Amberg, and showing how much he was pushing Ollie Rowland, running out of road there, but working his way not quite into the points. Carlos Sainz taking win number 6 of the season. Pierre Gasly in 2nd place, and Mathieu Vazavière making it at least 2 Frenchmen out of 3 on the podium, as he stayed in front of Sergei Sorokin. And Roberto Merhi, strangely off the boil, never looked in qualifying like he had the pace, and certainly never looked like he had the pace in the race. So there's going to be some head scratching at Zeta course to try and get him back on course for race 2. So Roberto Merhi just losing touch a little bit there, and Tom, that's been reflected in the championship. He's now 31 points behind, with still 75 on offer, including 25 for winning today. So it's by no means done, but it just is another little step away that Carlos Sainz has taken.
Yeah, well, he's had a remarkable run, Roberto Merhi. Let's not take anything away from him, and he only you know, he finished 5th yesterday. I say only, that's still a respectable result, but the problem is where Carlos Sainz Jr. finished, at the top of the sheet. And what a time to get that W, that vital win that really turned the momentum back into Carlos Sainz Jr.'s favour. And that, for me, it's a pivotal time. You know, we're right down, it's crunch time now, really, isn't it, in terms of the championship fight, and we only have Jerez after today.
Well, we're just looking at the man on pole position. 2nd yesterday, Pierre Gasly on pole this morning.
For me and for all the team, we worked really hard since Friday, and and at the end it paid off. So I'm really happy, and I will try to get this first victory this afternoon. It's like I said, it's a great feeling because I have a lot of people who came here to support me. So it's the best thing I can offer them to thank them to come here to support me. So it's good.
Boy, done good. And that's one of the great things, isn't it, about being able to do that, to be able to race at home in your home country. It might be a long way from where you actually live, but they can get in the car, then get on the train. Friends, family, the people that supported you when you were in karting, when he was in the 2-litre Euro Cup, you know, the guys that put money into him, invested just love and support. And here he is, Sunday morning, front and centre, you know, on the biggest stage he's ever raced on, and he's on pole. And you know, it's a great opportunity for them to come and share that delight with him, and hopefully to be there watching him on the podium in 45 minutes time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, everyone sounds the same to start off with, and it's just it's just a familiar set of circumstances, isn't it, for Pierre Gasly?
The season has been a bit up and down for Sergei. Do you think he has really shown his full talent this year?
Not really. First part of the season was quite dampened by some technical problem, I would say electronical problem, then brilliantly solved from the team. So in the second part you saw some podium came, a victory in Moscow, and we are back on performance as we expected to be from the first part of the season.
A good news, the Sauber Formula One team confirmed that Sergei is going to drive the Formula One car on Friday morning free practice in Russia.
Good news, but it was already on the project. We did a contract last year. We finalized the contract last year with Sauber, and some steps were already organized. Sergei did his super license test in Bahrain a couple of months ago, and Sochi debut on Friday in the race, let's say, environment now is coming. A big debut because it's for the team, for the driver, and for the Russian motor racing, you know, activity. This is new for everybody.
What about next year?
This is a complicated question. We are working on, I don't want to say many, but a pair of options. Obviously, Sauber is the first one. We will see them in a short couple of days, and we will discuss about the future. Formula One is in a complicated moment as well, so many changes at the moment. We are ready to join on the best way, looking to the career of Sergei, which I remember is 19 years old, so we need the proper project for him.
Thank you, enjoy the race.
Thank you as well.
19, blimey, you know, quite an old man in terms of going into Formula One these days. That's, I suppose, about the benchmark age, isn't it, really? But the bench got moved again in the last couple of weeks, didn't it, as Max Verstappen was announced as a Toro Rosso driver at the tender age of 16. He'll still be when he gets onto the grid for the first race next year.
It's just mind-boggling. I mean, just remember what you were doing when you were 16, and then just imagine what Max Verstappen must be going through mentally, and the pressure that he'd be under going into Australia. You've got to be a special type of individual to be able to cope with the responsibility and all of that goes around it. It's easy to sit at home and go, well, you know, what a dream come true. This is real life, you know, this is pressure, and he'll relish it because he's that type of guy. But it's not for everyone, I tell you that much. It would be pretty crippling for the vast majority.
The season has been a bit dodgy for Renault in Formula One. New technical rules, new power units, and an announcement a few days ago. A new strategy, a stronger partnership. Red Bull Racing will be the factory team.
Well, dodgy, I don't like the word dodgy. It's sports, so like in any sports, you never know the result. It's true that it was the end of 4 years of domination of the package Red Bull and Renault. It was a fantastic period, and like in any time in sports, there is some cycle, and at the end of a cycle. So now it's about being capable of getting back as a world championship contender, which is something that we think we can do thanks to a better partnership and a better integration of Red Bull and Renault.
A double podium at the last race, or do you expect some strong results in the last 5 Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, I read a funny interview from Dr. Marco talking about the double points, because initially he was really not in favor and now he's in favor. So we'll see. That's something that might be interesting, that will keep the show alive for sure. Clearly for Mercedes first and for us. Not to forget that we've been capable of having 3 wins this year, which is a good result for some things that we describe as dodgy. But again, we've got on pole here today 2 Red Bull. We want to be able to see that in Formula One again very quickly.
What about the link between the World Series by Renault and the Renault program in Formula One?
it's crucial because we can't afford being in Formula One if there is no clear strategy, and the strategy has to begin earlier into the ladder leading to Formula One. So that's very interesting to see what will be the stars of tomorrow and the ones that we'd like to be able to power with our engine in the future.
Thank you, enjoy the race.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was the MD of Renault Sport F1, Cyril Abiteboul, and a very straight talker. I like the way that he is summing up Red Bull Renault season, and that's all part of the deal, isn't it, Tom? They're going to be embedded much more deeply within the Red Bull operation because they see there is a lack of, not a lack of, but they can improve the integration of the engine and the hybrid package with the car. And that's Mercedes' massive advantage, is that the whole thing is designed in one unit, whereas Renault have been providing a customer package to Formula One, and it has been less than perfect, and you can't be less than perfect.
Yeah, and absolutely, what most people don't realise, Martin, is Red Bull actually developed their own KERS last year and through that dominant period as well. So the engine was just provided by Renault, the KERS and the car and everything was provided by Red Bull. That gave the likes of Mercedes an advantage because they were developing everything towards these new regulations. They had everything in-house. So Renault have got off on the wrong foot, having to get a better understanding of the KERS and everything and how it integrates into their power unit, and Red Bull have had to hand that responsibility over. So it's been a transition period for them, and to make the relationship stronger, to integrate it all under one roof, that's only ever going to be building towards the future and an advantage.
And he's absolutely right to talk about cycles. I remember at the end of the dominant Williams-Renault era, when Renault left Formula One, everybody was saying, well, why are you leaving? You're winning everything. And then we're going, yeah. But the only news now is Renault don't win. You don't spend 100 million a year for people to say, oh, look, Renault didn't win. So we're going to go away and then we'll come back. And that's exactly what they've got now is, as he said, they've had a period of domination. Now they're the underdogs. And the story is when they fight back against Mercedes. And so actually for them, for their marketing purposes, although nobody likes not to win when you're used to winning, actually for marketing it's quite good that there is a story that they can fight themselves back into competition, and that's the big sell, to go and get the money from the board to continue in Formula One.
Yeah, you're right, champions get knocked down. It's not the fact that you get knocked down, it's how you get back up, and that's the crucial point. And they're planning a long-term strategy, and they will be back because class is permanent and form is temporary.
Absolutely right.
With Elf.
Beautiful conditions here at the circuit, Paul Ricard, as Pierre Gasly leads the field from pole position to the grid. Carlos Sainz alongside him, reverse of yesterday's grid. Sergei Sorokin finished third yesterday, starts third today. Jazeman Jaffar, stunning qualifying pace to go fourth ahead of Roberto Meri and Mathieu Vazavier. And rookie Esteban Ocon, only his second race weekend in these cars, already up to 10th fastest in qualifying. Really good pace from young Esteban Ocon, and if he comes into the championship full-time next year, he could be very entertaining indeed. Meinert van Buren and a strangely off-the-pace Zoel Amberg are the final row of the grid. Zoel Amberg was in 6th position yesterday in qualifying and 22nd this morning. Clearly didn't get the lap he needed before qualifying was stopped by a red flag just before the end. He caused the red flag. Ah, there you go. The grid is ready to go. Race 2 at Paul Ricard. 3 races to go to the end of the season. Pierre Gasly on pole at home. Good start again from Carlos Sainz. A little bit of wheel spin from Gasly. And Sainz has got it alongside him. Jazeman Jaffar watching. Sainz is trying to squeeze his way through. Gasly is going to have to be brave on the inside, but Sainz gets the lead from the pole sitter. Pierre Gasly cuts back on the inside as Sainz goes straight off. And he's not the only one. Will Buller's gone off there as well. So which of the two Red Bull cars? Gasly went off. So Sainz is going around the outside. Gasly's giving him the place back. Jaffar in third, Meri in fourth, looking a little bit more. And Ollie Rowland in fifth. Again, a stunning start from Ollie Rowland. Where was he on the grid? Again in 8th place. This time no puncture though, and going very slowly. Is that Vazavier or Ocon? And I think Vazavier's got through.
Very difficult to pick out what was going on. A lot of the cars going straight on there at Verrières, and it was a little bit tricky for Carlos Sainz Jr. though. Everything that he wanted. I spoke to him before the race. He said you can get away from second, and boy oh boy did he just do that. Gasly tried in vain. He locked up and went straight on. He faced a tricky moment, having to give that place back and not lose a place to Jafar, because lifting off, you can easily let two cars through. He did that well. Now he's got to find his rhythm. Now he's got to hunt down Sainz. And these two had a great car balance yesterday. These two Red Bull liveried cars, the Dams car and the Arden car of Gasly, they were very strong in the race. I mean, my money now, Roland in fifth. Watch that Fortec car. Ollie Roland thought he had pole yesterday, or car good enough. He had fuel pump issues in qualifying. The race was just a disaster from the first lap. In qualifying today, the red flag spoiled his effort. He's a man on a mission.
Yep. Purple sectors and then red flag in his final sector, so he could have been right at the very sharp end. And yesterday, well, the race was disaster because of the puncture, but he sure showed that he's got plenty of pace and that he can really overtake around here. He might have to be just a little bit more circumspect if he's aiming to get on the podium, but he's in the position where he can do it. And Sergei Sorokin in sixth, everybody else in seventh place. That is Mathieu Vazavier there, just in front of Norman Nato now, as we ride with Nato in eighth place now, because he's got by Will Stevens, and Jafar going the long way around, and that's where Gasly handed the place back to Sainz on lap one. So in fact, has Gasly just got an issue there, because basically he's almost stationary. Jafar nearly ran into the back of him as they got into the chicane and around here through Saint-Bern.
Yeah, I don't think he's got an issue. He's just got no pace. I don't know if it's a tyre pressure issue or what it is, but certainly his car not quick enough at this stage in the race. Jafar with the DRS closed. Gasly with his DRS shut as they head up to the chicane. Who's going to brake later? It's Gasly. Jafar can't go around the outside there. We alluded to that yesterday. It's just too tight an entry. But Gasly, boy, has he got his hands full. He has to survive this if he has a chance of winning this race. He's never won in World Series by Renault. He desperately wants to do it today.
Look at the queue behind there. He does not have the pace at the moment, does he? Jafar's going high, wide and handsome. Do you do that? You do. Ballsy around the outside. He's got to do it a second time now into Beausset. Long way further round the outside. Look how long that right-hander is, and he loses ground. Through goes Roberto Meri. This could be a really big race for Roberto Meri. He's got to get by Gasly, and he's got to get by fast, because Sainz is clearing off now in one lap in the sort of distance it took him 10 laps to do yesterday.
Absolutely fabulous driving from Gasly and Jafar. Two wide through Signa and Beausset. Really difficult to do it. And I tell you what, Gasly, do not underestimate how tricky it was for him on the inside of Beausset, because having to get the car stopped and carry the same sort of speed as Jafar to get that second apex and to get there on the inside was special. Meri now, he'll be smiling like a Cheshire cat because he's got past Jafar. He just needs to get past Gasly, and it's championship fight back on.
Look at the lead, 4.6 seconds Sainz away. Sainz's first flying lap, 1 minute 53.1. Second place car, Pierre Gasly, 1:55.8, 2.7 seconds slower without any hindrance from the start. So Sainz on the outside of the front row got a good start. Again, Ollie Roland, they need to go to Ollie Roland and say, excuse me, how are you doing this? All his rivals.
Well, Sorokin, he was having a Horlick, so he's just across the garage from Ollie Roland. The second Fortec car, Sorokin just didn't get away. And look, Sainz putting pressure on Gasly straight away, and he wants it. I spoke to Carlos Sainz, as I said. He said, look, I'm going for the win. Forget balancing points, worrying about Meri. If I win this race, it doesn't matter what Meri does. And that's the attitude he's got, and he showed it there, because that was pretty boisterous away from second place.
No, absolutely right, and he really got hooked up again. Yesterday he made an absolutely fabulous start, and Pierre Gasly had a bit too much wheel spin, then too few revs, then got away. But Sainz was absolutely nailed on there. And you're absolutely right. If he wins the race, then Meri can't take points away from him, can he? Yeah, dreadful start there in front of Meri by the Russian Sergei Sorokin. Again, Jafar having one of his days. He's right on the money here, and you know, really ballsy effort to get in amongst the top two into the first corner and then to drive around Mary. Outside line at senior, you've got to trust the guy inside you. That's a big accident waiting to happen. There's Ollie Rowland just in front of Sergei Sorokin, and that is the battle 5th and 6th. And Sainz is long gone. 4.98 seconds, 96 seconds rather. Goodness me, that's a massive margin.
Now Gasly's found his rhythm, the pace has come back, he's got the tyre temperature in the car. On those opening laps, he was just a sitting duck, couldn't generate the amount of downforce or the minimum speeds of the cars around him. He's got the heat back and he's now finding his rhythm. That'll be annoying for Mary. But we have pit stops today, don't forget. The pit stop window is when the leader starts lap 5. The rest of the field can dart in at that moment, but the leader has to have crossed the line to start lap 5, and the close of the window is lap 15.
We were talking about this when we were saying Ollie Rowland starting 8th. Is he going to be able to come in immediately at the end of lap 4? And I said, no, he'll be too close to the leader. But now, Sainz, 6 seconds up the road, everybody, probably almost from Pierre Gasly back, can peel in at the end of lap 4 if they want, because the leader can't. So everybody's going to be looking to undercut. I mean, especially Gasly, you would think, and especially Mary. So on the Fortec pit wall, what are they thinking? They've got Rowland and Sorokin, 5th and 6th. Can't bring them both in together. That's too much of a log jam. So who gets the call?
Rowland gets the call. Rowland gets the call because he's ahead, and I would have thought that Rowland will pit early. He has to get out of the dirty air of Roberto Meri and Jasmin Jaffar. He'll believe, and so will Richard Dutton and the Fortec crew, Jamie Dye, the team manager there, that his car, that Fortec machine in the hands of Ollie Rowland is quicker than the 2 cars ahead. And so if they can get in the pits early and push for clean air, then that's brilliant. The problem lies if Jaffar and Mary decide to pit. Then you've got to think on your feet, because you can't go in as well. You've got to dart back out at the last minute with keeping your foot in it, keeping ahead of Sorokin. So it's a really, really tricky element, the pit stops, and you've got to be on your toes if you're going to roll the dice and pit early, because you eliminate any sort of advantage if the 2 cars that you're trying to leapfrog dive in ahead of you.
Well, Sainz, I wonder when he's going to come, and he's doing stunning laps. A 53.2 to the 53.9 of Gasly. Previous lap, his best a 53.1. So Sainz is absolutely on fire at the moment. Again, another 0.7 of a second in a single lap over Pierre Gasly. And again, identical cars.
Well, we saw this yesterday. I mean, Gasly had the pace to trade fastest laps yesterday. Not quite today, but only a couple of tenths shy. But the difference is Carlos Sainz just does it every lap. 53.1 his best lap, last lap 53.2. Every lap for Carlos Sainz Jr. is a qualifying lap at the moment, and this kid is doing something special. He is absolutely driving the wheels off that Dams car.
Carlos Sainz, our race leader by a country mile. Can't come in first, so the option might be to come in last, but everybody else now planning their strategy, starting with Pierre Gasly in second, trying to get through this mandatory pit stop to the best advantage or to the least disadvantage, maybe.
I mean, Carlos Sainz Jr. is in the perfect position, because this is like playing a card game and knowing what the others have in terms of their hand. Because Carlos Sainz Jr. will just cover track position. He'll wait for the others to pit and for it to work out. He doesn't need to do anything. He's that far ahead. The difficulty lies, I think, for Pierre Gasly and Arden, because Pierre Gasly and Arden have got to watch for track position. Is it Rowland? Yes, it's Rowland.
Yeah,
so
Ollie Rowland
right.
in the pits at Fortec. There you go. Just saw him darting out of shot. Couldn't quite tell from that distance whether it was him or Sorokin. So the first opportunity, and a flood in is Norman Nato. And this is the way to go. If you're stuck behind somebody, get in, get it done. So Rowland, Stockinger, Sorensen, Van Buren, Nato, Amberg, Giotto, Twynham. That's...
But the key for
8 cars.
The key for Rowland, I mean, forget the rest, they're rolling the dice. Yes, they might get some places. The key for Rowland here is that Jaffar and Mary didn't pit. Now, what will Jaffar and Mary do as Amberg nearly stalls in?
He anders off, doesn't he?
they will have to look at pitting next time around, because ultimately now they're looking at track position, because Roland will have the pace to leapfrog them if they stay out.
Cameron Twyman there, you just saw him going out in the 27 Comtech car. He's picked up a couple of places, in fact three places possibly, certainly ahead of Zol Amberg and Marco Sorensen. So Twyman in his third weekend of World Series by Renault. Sergei Sorokin really under pressure here from Mathieu Vazavier. The Lotus cars, again, both of them look really quite on the pace yesterday, and again, looks like he's got the pace over the Russian here.
Yeah, this is good for Roland as well, because Sorokin's going to have to defend his overall lap time will not be particularly special because of that. So Roland not under threat from behind, and with a real clean sheet of paper in terms of just putting the hammer down and seeing what he can do. I'm really intrigued to see if Mary and Jafar pit. I mean, I think Jafar can stay out and risk it. He's going reasonably quickly. Look, that's his personal best last time around. Mary, for me, has to pit, but we'll wait and see.
Hasn't yet.
He hasn't.
You know, he carries on. Mary is there, so is Gasly, so is Jafar. So first, second, third and fourth yet to stop. Sorokin and Vazavier. So if you were Vazavier, you'd be going, get me in, get me in. Now he's going to have to pass him and then go into the pits and hope that he doesn't drop behind in the pit stop.
Yeah, Vazavier, Lotus crew, they should have pitted Vazavier that time around. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's easy for us to say, but I genuinely feel as William Buller
Will Stevens, Oscar Tunio are in. Oh, and Vazavier. See again.
That's the way of getting round.
But he's ripping the shreds out of both front and rear tyres, and he's only going to get a fresh set of one. They really dropped the ball there. They should have brought him in. They knew he was jammed up behind Sorokin.
I'm interested. Look, Ollie Rowland, really fast middle and final sectors. Not quite as quick as Sainz, but
the tyres will still be coming in, won't they?
Yeah, that man's on the move, and just wait and see. I'm pretty sure that Roland's going to leapfrog Jafar and Mary, and that they've dropped the ball there. Mary, yeah, he has to be aggressive, but at the end of the day, we've still got 2 more races after this, so he has to get as many points as he possibly could today, and that means guarding track position. And look, now they're under big, big pressure, these two, so they're going to be losing time.
Slowing each other down. 3 men in clear air at the moment, realistically. Sainz first, Gasly second, and Roland the first of the stoppers, because he's not close to anybody from behind. He's 15 seconds behind Bikes-Gavissa on track, so he's got a lot of clear air in front. Pierre Gasly just set the fastest second sector of all in the race. And Ollie Rowland is on a personal best lap as these two battle over what is currently 3rd place, but they might neither of them end up on the podium if Rowland looks in neither go in again. So this is another gimme for Rowland. It's another free lap where he is able to just lap faster than either of these 2 cars.
Yeah, why Jafar doesn't go in, I don't know, because Mary's not quick enough. Mary, yes, it's one or t'other. Lose a place to Jafar by pitting this lap, because he will lose that, or do you lose a place to Roland?
This is Vazavier, surely. A lap too late, maybe, but yeah. At least he won't have done too much.
Unsafe release.
Well, possibly right in front of the Tech 1 car of
right into it
of Nicholas Latifi. So that will have given the.
There you go, Ollie Rowland, purple. Look at that.
Wow, fastest lap of the race, 1:52.8. Sainz is fastest at 1:53.1. Blimey, Riley.
Just to put that into perspective, at the moment, Mary, that's 2 seconds a lap slower than Roberto Mary. So that's why Mary should have pitted and got track position.
So not only is it faster than Sainz's best lap, it's actually half a second quicker than Sainz's last lap. He is lapping very quickly, Ollie Rowland. Now, obviously, Carlos Sainz has got fresher tyres to come, and realistically, from how far back he started the post-pit stop cycle, Ollie Rowland isn't going to be thinking about winning. But these two, this is definitely on the play sheet for Fortec, getting in front of these guys. And the longer they stay out battling each other, the more they're giving it. They might just walk down the pit lane and hand the trophy to Fortec now.
So Zeta Corsa in the pits now to pit Mary. 2 laps too late. I don't get that. He stayed out, hemorrhaged time, achieved nothing.
And they were out last lap, kneeling there. They've been knelt there for a lap.
I mean, if I'm sat here in the commentary box without some of the telemetry and simulation software that they have, how can they not see
all the gear?
No
idea. That should be us. We should be the ones going, wow, that's a work of genius. How did they think that one up? Instead, we're going, what on earth are they doing? Oh, and
Jafar thought about pitting there, but he saw Mary coming in and made the right call.
Yeah. 1 lap in clear air, 2 laps in clear air. He should, in fact, 2 laps for Jafar to stay out, because 1 lap now and the second lap as Gasly stops as well. The second lap, Mary will be on cold tyres, so Jafar should come in another couple of laps.
Yeah, but Gasly has to stop because, as I was saying before the pit stop sequence, when Roland came in, Gasly's the one in a tricky position because he needs to protect his position from Roland.
Where is Ollie Roland? There's Ollie Roland, so Ollie Roland, Mary will be in front, but no, he won't be in front. Ollie Roland through between the guys that were second and third, and Gasly on cold tyres should be easy meat. As long as Ollie Roland doesn't rush at this like a bull in a china shop, he's a very combative racer. He just goes for every opportunity, but he must know that he's got the opportunity now to do it down the straight into the chicane.
So it's exactly how I said it would play out. Gasly under pressure from Roland. He was the one that, and Arden, to give them credit, did a good job there. They pitted Gasly at the right point.
Just in time.
Just in time. What Zeta Course were doing, I don't know. Facetious genius strategy from Zeta Course, because look, they've lost the place from Roland. If they'd have just brought him in straight away, they would have protected that.
Well, ditto. I mean, if Gasly had been in a couple of laps earlier, even the lap after Ollie Roland, he wouldn't be under this sort of pressure on cold tyres. Roland just not quite close enough there to get him as he came out of the pits, and that might not be now an easy pass. Well, it's definitely not going to be an easy pass for Ollie Roland, because Gasly, as we saw yesterday and we've seen all season long, is a hard man to get by.
I said to Ollie Roland before the race, we had a long conversation after qualifying, he was absolutely gutted because Lady Luck has just not been on his side today, and I said, listen, just do what you do and don't rush it today, and it's an easy podium for you, an easy podium from 8th on the grid, and it's playing out. And he hasn't rushed it. He made a good start. He's done nothing untoward. Strong strategy from Fortec, and Roland's doing the rest.
Mature head, speed, all looking very good. Jafar is in. Was that a delay on the left rear at ISR? Hopefully not. Now, where's Jafar? He's going to come out in front of this battle. So Jafar somehow has lucked in there.
Well, we'll wait and see. He's not.
He is.
Oh, he is.
He is. He is going to be very close. No,
he's lost out as well.
Ollie Roland just squeezes through, but he is in front of Roberto Meri, and that's what those extra 2 laps of clear air finally did for him. But again, you've got to think at ISR, they could have done that 3, 4, 5 laps earlier, like Roland.
ISR and Zeta Course, I mean, who's calling the strategy on their pit wall, I don't know, because how they could not see that they were going to lose track position to Roland, even before Roland pitted, I don't know. But that said, you know, Jafar at least has stayed ahead of Mary, so Mary will be the most frustrated out of all of this because he's lost the place. I mean, Roland has to try and pass Gasly quickly before the rhythm sets in. It's difficult to pass here, and you're seeing it now. Jafar on cold tyres, but Roland's just off the back of Gasly.
Yeah, and Ollie Roland's dropped off Pierre Gasly a little bit, and that might be a choice just to give himself a run, but Jafar definitely defending really hard, painted down the white line on driver's left on the straight, wasn't he? He knew Mary was going to go around the outside or not at all. There was underneath or over the top as the other options. Down the inside was never there. And again, Jafar being very brave on colder rear tyres and trying to go around the outside. Mary cuts back on the inside, and Jafar now, the road will come to him, but not soon enough. That's a very big ballsy pass from Roberto Meri. That was great driving.
I couldn't interrupt you there, but I was about to say Mary will get this done by hook or by crook. He had the body language in the car. It was win it or bin it, wasn't it? He needed that place and to stay in the hunt, and so full credit to Jafar for giving him the space. He went wide into Bousset, rear tyres, not enough grip. and Mary was just so racy.
Next question is, where is Sergei Sirotkin going to come out? He's in the Fortec pit. Oh, he's going to be behind all these guys. Esteban Ocon currently second, Bajtskevisa third, waiting for a red flag, clearly. Carlos Sainz leads at the moment by 23.9 seconds from Esteban Ocon, but Sainz has yet to stop, and this is the Dams team waiting for him because Nato's already been in.
They have to pit now because you don't want a safety car or anything like that. So Carlos Sainz Jr. and Dams, perfect position. As I said, like playing a card game and knowing everybody else's hand, they've just bided their time. Now they'll pit and come out for the second part of the race. Just catching the end of Roberto Mary's move in Bousset, and well, Jafar just couldn't get the car into the garage. That's Marchenko's car on the
Madlanov, or any number of random Russians.
Yeah.
So Jafar still clinging on to Roberto Mary. Mary at the moment in 6th, which should come up to be 4th because we're going to lose out of the top 3. Esteban Ocon and Bajtskevisa. Carlos Sainz carries on past the pits. Just keeping the Dams guys out there in the sun. Make sure they're nice and warm and sweaty when they get to make their stop. Was it 23 degrees air temperature at the moment, and they're in full overalls. So he goes by the pits. We'll take a quick pause and be right back with you live here in Paul Ricard.
The heart of the World Series by Renault with Elf.
Carlos Sainz still leading here. 16 minutes to go plus the final lap. This is lap 13 and the pit window shuts after one more lap. We've seen the Dams team out in the pit lane for 2 laps, Tom Gaymore, obviously warming up nicely. It must be a bit chilly in the garages or something. However, we're waiting for Sainz to come in, and surely he's going to do it now rather than leave it another lap. The boys are ready and waiting.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real great gain or loss from Carlos Sainz's position unless we had a safety car. So you might as well get it in now and get that track position and secure your run to the flag. You know, barring any commentator's curse.
Of course, if he stays out any longer, Bajtskevisa won't get to lead a lap. But if he comes in now, she will, which would be fun. So 3rd place at the moment, Pierre Gasly on the road. 1:52.7, fastest race lap to him. So Gasly really flying in the later stages of the race. You're looking, Sainz comes down pit road. You were just looking at his teammate Norman Nato. Straight into the Dams pit. No pressure. Left rear took a fraction longer than you might have liked, but he's got 20-odd seconds to play with, and that's the advantage of being able to go off like a scalded cat. Bajtskevisa comes across the line. She is the race leader. So Carlos Sainz will come out for the moment into 2nd place. And look at the real estate behind him. You're just watching that final corner. There, finally, somebody comes. But that is Zoll Amberg, I think, who's possibly going to end up a lap down. Because there in the background you see the yellow nose of Pierre Gasly, and then Ollie Rowland. Was that Bajtskevisa? Was that Amberg going past in the first place? That is Bajtskevisa. So in fact Carlos Sainz didn't even lose the leads to the German girl. So that's how much of an advantage he had.
And you're absolutely right with the Dams pit crew. They just need to hit their marks. Don't stall it. Get out. They got a second or two to play with, and Carlos Sainz executing his pit stop, and the Dams crew absolutely perfectly. And you know, we talk about the drivers a lot. It's worth talking about the mechanics. They get nervous. Don't get me wrong. When you're in a pressurized environment, everything is on your shoulders all of a sudden. If you make a mistake or the wheel comes off or you can't get it on, then the whole world is watching you. Those that aren't watching the golf, and you know. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. So this is a team effort, and those mechanics play a huge, huge role. And I tell you what, I wouldn't want to do a pit stop because it is a nerve-wracking affair.
Well, you know, where the odd time where we do them just for fun, it's for fun and there's no pressure. But you're right, you can absolutely ruin a driver's race with one fumble pit stop. No question, especially in a competition that's as tight as this. You know, joked about Carlos Sainz having, you know, he could have got out and had a cup of tea, basically. But if the wheel nut had rolled off down the pit lane somewhere and there wasn't another one and he's fumbling for it on his belt, that's 10 or 15 seconds by the time it's all gathered together and he's gone. and there's your lead, and there's your championship. You know, and that's true from race 1 to race 12. You can completely kibosh an hour's hard work by a driver with one fumble in the pits. Norman Nato finally loses the place there to Nicholas Latifi. That he did on the last lap. Latifi got by him in that Tech 1 car. So Nato losing pace after the pit stops, although actually, perversely, that was his fastest lap last time round. But Latifi is starting to clear off, and Latifi from Montreal in Quebec is getting quicker and quicker with every race, never mind every weekend. He's starting to actually look like he's really feeling comfortable in that Tech 1 car.
Yeah, he's one of the F3 rookies, together with Esteban Ocon, who's come up into World Series by Renault and doing a very good job. This is a replay. This is Latifi around the outside. So we were just saying earlier how you can't pass around the outside into the chicane.
I say it was hard.
Latifi wasn't listening.
Clearly not. Well, anybody who's raced at places like Trois-Rivières will know about tough overtaking. Carlos Sainz, our race leader. I guarantee there are other cars on the track. Look, there's one of them. That's Pierre Gasly in second place, because Bikes Gavissa has stopped from what was second place on the road. So Pierre Gasly there in second, Ollie Rowland in third. And that's going to be some reward, at least. You know, better to end Sunday lunchtime on the podium with a trophy than his weekend to have gone the other direction, from a podium down to the disappointment of a first lap puncture. That would have been a bad progression for Ollie Rowland. But he's shown the pace, and he's shown the stick with itness and get on with itness that he needs to.
And Gasly now back up to his speed, his rhythm. That Arden car very, very good once the pressures come up, because you can see at the beginning of the race, straight after the pit stop, he didn't have the speed that some of the others have, and actually he's driven very, very well to not stop the rot. But if you set your car up like that, you've got to make sure you don't lose places, and Gasly's shown the class and experience that he needs to make sure that the strategy and the setup works well.
Well, I was going to ask you actually earlier in the race, and we got distracted by overtaking and things, you know, that happened. I was going to ask you, first of all, obviously he didn't make the greatest start, and we've seen that a number of times. He made, you know, not a great start yesterday either. Today on pole position, even more exposed in that way, because he then, losing the lead then meant that maybe setting lower tyre pressures at the beginning was going to be defendable if he was in the lead, but was going to be a major disadvantage if he was not in the lead. I was going to say, is it something that he's not doing on the formation lap once the tyre blankets are off? Is he not doing enough to keep the temperature in the tyre? I wonder if that's part of the issue there as well.
Yeah, it could be. You know, that's part and parcel of being a young racing driver. He's a rookie. This is his first time in a category where there is strategy, pit stops, where you have to look at the tyres and what you get out of them. Certainly the engineers, they face a big challenge with the Michelin tyre and where they run the car in terms of getting that peak performance. And Gasly is well informed though. He's a Red Bull Junior and the FFSA back him well. So I would have thought he's had a few trips to Michelin. And is that Sorensen?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's now got his downforce back that he didn't have yesterday, but to no avail, because obviously he needs a bit more.
Sorensen and Giotto, and then Matthias Lane in the middle of that battle.
But I think Gasly will be well informed. I could be wrong. Going to your point about the start, I just think that these cars are incredibly tricky. It's a pneumatic power clutch and gearbox. We don't have that on any other formula. That means that there's a capacitor. There has to be a certain amount of air pressure, around 7 bar, in the capacitor for the clutch to engage and disengage. You've got to make sure that you don't engage the clutch too early, otherwise you'll drain the air pressure before the green light. It's got 6 maps of launch control, 3 throttle maps. There's plenty to think about for a young racing driver who's just stepped up from a fairly basic 2-litre Renault car. So can't be too harsh on him. And once you get that gremlin in the, it's a bit like when you play golf, don't lift your head, don't lift your head. What's the first thing you do?
Lift your head,
lift your head.
Exactly. Yeah,
and if you're thinking about it, it takes a while to get that out of your system.
Again, Norman Nato facing the wrong way down in the penultimate sequence of corners. That's at Tours. And look what damage it's done to his tyres. You can see a really big black spot on it where it's looped round over that tarmac and tungsten combination. He doesn't really seem to be up to speed. Just going to say, Jasmine Jafar is looking as quick now at the end of the race as he was at the beginning. He's all over the back of Roberto Meri. And who did he run into, I wonder?
Pietro Fantin.
Yeah. where was Fantin? He was in front of that battle with Nato. Maybe Nato looped round and Pietro got caught out by it. Fantin, incidentally, what a sports car debut he made the other week here at Paul Ricard. Started on pole position, was dropped into the car for the start of the 6 hours of Paul Ricard. Most impressed, and Jafar now all over the back of Roberto Meri.
So Meri with not enough pace at this stage in the race, and that doesn't surprise me. They would have set his car up to get track position early on, and then once he's got it, to hold on. Jafar now trying to do what Meri did to him around the outside of Senior, and he's almost made it stick. Can Meri stay on the inside without running wide? He's going to roll off the brake. Jafar's not going to be able to get to the second apex, and Meri lives to fight another day.
Now that's where Meri cut back on the inside, and Jafar was still stuck on the outside. Car number 2 being investigated for the incident with Pietro Fantin, which is Norman Nato. So clearly there was a coming together somewhere, and track cameras will have caught that. Well, Roberto Meri clinging on to this 4th position ahead of Jasman Jafar, and as earlier in the race, Mathieu Vazavier in the Lotus closing up behind. And again, all 3 of these might be ruining what didn't happen in their pit strategy, and why on earth they didn't end up getting in earlier and getting away from these pesky people. Pietro Fantin has rejoined. Norman Nato remains in the pits, and off goes the number 9 car, Marco Sorensen, the Tech 1 driver, really not on the ball at all here. Zol Amberg behind him. Cam Twyman has moved up, and he'll pick up another place because of Sorensen going off. So the young Comtech driver now up to 18th.
It looks as though he's pulled off there rather than spun off. I couldn't quite see any skid marks leading to where he's stopped. These cars do have anti-stall, so even if you're spinning, you just pull the clutch and engage that. But
as long as he had some pneumatic pressure left, who knows? It might just have gone underneath him, and that's all he had to roll off the circuit. Carlos Sainz leads on lap 18 in Paul Ricard. We have under 6 minutes to go, then the final lap board will be shown as the leader gets to the line after the time has elapsed. This is the battle just off the podium for 4th place. Roberto Meri for Zeta Course, Jasman Jafar, ISR. They are battling for 4th and 5th, and Mathieu Vazavier in the black and gold Lotus closing in from behind. 2nd behind Sainz at the moment, Arden's Pierre Gasly. 3rd, Vortex Ollie Rowland, and those positions, barring mechanical frailty, look pretty much nailed on, don't they? Sainz a long way clear of Gasly, and Rowland, with the best will in the world, is going to struggle to catch Pierre Gasly from nearly 4 seconds back with only maybe 4 laps to go.
So here we go. We're as we were before the pit stop, so that is just a prime example of just not quite having the right strategy, what it does to your race. It takes you 12 laps to catch back up if you're Vassivier.
Oscar Tunio here in the little queue with Luca Giotto and Matthias Lane in the grey and black Straka racing car. Behind them, Cameron Twyman is about 2.5 seconds behind, but this little queue, especially if it joins the one in front, which is Marlon Stockinger and Meindert van Buren, Tunio's teammate, they will all slow each other up, and then we could have a real sort out in the final corner on the last lap, because that could be really quite messy.
Stockinger's had one to forget, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Started 7th, now 13th. He was lower than that. We've had a few retirements, but maybe he was one of, or that Lotus that we saw with the anti-stall kicking in at the beginning.
Exactly. Yes, well remembered. I'd forgotten that. Right in the middle of the pack as everybody swamped him. That sounds exactly like what happened to him. Unless he just couldn't be bothered changing gears, which seems unlikely to me. Esteban Ocon's in front of him by some 4 or 5 seconds. So Stockinger, Van Buren, then Tunio, Giotto, and the grey carb lane on the back of that group.
Another person worth mentioning, Will Stevens. He's up quite a few positions. He's now 8th. Straka Racing just not being able to get the qualifying pace out of the car. He, let's not forget, started this season as one of the championship favourites, won the first race, but they just haven't been able to qualify. When you don't qualify, it's very, very tricky. You're in and amongst it in the first lap, and you don't have the track position, and your weekend's kind of compromised from the start. And they're good on used and in race pace. They just cannot get that peak out of the tyre to get that couple of tenths in qualifying on the second set.
Well, they're still really learning the car and learning the qualifying and learning every track, aren't they? So it's, you know, Dams and Arden and Fortek, who've been in the championship much longer, have got the advantage.
They were strong last year, but Michelin changed the tyre, and that's why it's not an aero thing. I think it's a tyre thing. They just can't quite get
on top of it.
The tyre or the grip out of the tyre when it's brand new. And you know, you have that 3, 4, 5 tenths, and then it disappears after 3 laps. And the Michelin's actually very good; it stays the same.
I was just going to say, who's parked on the inside? It was a Lotus. Just a brief shot of it there.
Well, no, there's Vassilier behind Jafar, so...
Yeah, but he was way offline, so he's gone... I thought it was a stationary car, because it was right in the corner of the shot. So, yeah, he's had a bit of a mare there, and has dropped back as a result. And Jafar, I think, has shot his tyres, hasn't he? He had one long lunge around the outside of Senior and into Beausset a couple of laps ago to try and get around the outside Roberto Meri, and I think that was probably the last of his grip. Ollie Rowland 3 or 4 seconds up the road in front of these guys at the moment, and they are unlikely to catch him. They're going just about the same speed, but only just about the same speed.
Yeah, if you look with 2 minutes left on the clock, I mean, Carlos Sainz 12 seconds the lead now, Rowland 16 seconds off the lead, 4 off Gasly in second, and Roberto Meri, the battle we're watching now, they're 20 seconds behind our race leader Carlos Sainz Jr., and that's not where Roberto Meri, who's Carlos Sainz Jr.'s championship rival, wanted to be at this stage in the race.
No, behind at all is not what he wants. He wants to be in front. Sainz is coming up to lap Zol Amberg, who is currently running 19th.
Do some maths.
Oh no, that's not going to go well. You know that way. You do maths, I'll do blue car, red car. Here comes Roberto Meri. He is over 4 seconds behind Ollie Rowland, so 18 points not going to go his way, 15 points not going to go his way, 12 is as many as he is likely to get, and to do that he still has to survive 2 laps in front of Jasman Jafar. Luckily for Meri though, Jafar seems to have shot his bolt in terms of the amount of grip he's got. So it'll be 25 points for Carlos Sainz, it'll be 18 points for Pierre Gasly. Tom working with his
44 points. I reckon it's going to be around 44 points, the difference with 50 on offer.
Yep.
Well, that's going to...
And Sainz is going to go to Spain to try and win the championship with a near weekend advantage.
He just needs 7 points in the first race.
So he needs to finish in 6th position in one race in Jerez.
Even if Meri wins.
Yep. Even if Meri wins both races, Sainz just needs to be in the top 6 somewhere. Essentially, basically, you spend Saturday on the beach and then try and win it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what's essentially known as the driving seat.
Yeah.
Not literally, but yeah.
Oh, Sainz, incidentally, is backing off now, rolling off the throttle to the end of the lap. He's only set a personal best, or in fact a race best, second sector time. Pierre Gasly was faster in the first sector.
So the fuel burn kind of offsets the tyre degradation that you get with these Michelin. So there's more gain in burning the fuel than there is in tyre degradation. That's what I mean. So even at the end of the race, you can set a very, very quick time because the fuel's just dissipated the car at its lightest.
Fastest race lap for Carlos Sainz. Also purple first sector for Pierre Gasly, and a personal best lap for Pierre Gasly in second place. But his best lap of the race, Gasly, a 1:52.1. Sainz has just done his best lap, a 1:51.8. So 3 tenths between them on ultimate last lap or penultimate lap pace.
That's what's called showing off.
Blimey, right, yeah. That's where Sebastian Vettel's engineer gets on, isn't it? Rocky, and tries to calm him down from setting fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Clearly, Sainz watches a lot of F1. Exactly. He's doing this, but he's just enjoying, and that's exactly the mindset that you were talking about early. He's just enjoying driving the car for the sake of driving the car, trying to lead, trying to win, forget everything else. Forget the best way to deal with the pressure is not to acknowledge it and just to go on and drive fast.
I don't think Carlos Sainz Jr.'s drop in form over those 2 rounds was to do with the pressure. I think it was to do with the Max Verstappen decision. He's only human. He's got feelings. This is his dream. This is what he's worked for. He thought he had a really good shot at it next year, and then all of a sudden this 16-year-old comes along and nicks his seat, and he's going to be disappointed. He's bounced back from that, though, and what a special way to bounce back in terms of fashion. What a special way to bounce back, and that shows the class of the individual.
You're absolutely right, and on the last lap he's going as quick as ever before and doing it in style. A double race winning weekend, which will be his second double race winning weekend. Look, nobody has dominated every weekend in this championship ever. I don't care who they were. They've all had ebb and flow. Sainz is just the same as every other human being, ebb and flow. Somebody's going to have a better race weekend, but this is one of those where Carlos Sainz has had a better race weekend. He did it in Belgium, won both races in imperious form. He's done it on an utterly different track here at Paul Ricard, won both races in imperious form, and that is the mark of the man. Not the lows, not the highs, but the consistency with which he batters in the points. He is very, very strong indeed.
So Carlos Sainz Jr., his 7th win of the year. You've got to feel for Pierre Gasly. He has finished second 6 times now. He needs to win one in Jerez, please. He's that good. I mean, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's just cruel. And 6th time that he's finished second. I can't believe that stat. What a good run from Ollie Rowland. I spoke to him this morning. I said it was a podium for him, and he's delivered. And I think that was his reward for just sticking at it this weekend, because Lady Luck has not been on his side. He hasn't given up. He's shown a lot of grit and determination, drove beautifully today, so well done, Ollie Rowland.
Yeah, absolutely. All 3 very deserving podium finishers. Across the line in 4th, Roberto Meri, and his championship hopes now really very slender indeed. There is no one else in it. Jasmine Jafar in 5th, Mathieu Vazavière in 6th position.
At the heart of the World Series by Renault. With Elf.
Down pit lane comes our race winner, Carlos Sainz. Victory for the 2nd time this weekend at the circuit Paul Ricard. Ollie Rowland there on the left of your shot, Pierre Gasly on the right. They were 3rd and 2nd, but Carlos Sainz was in Formula Renault 3.7.5 or something this weekend. He was just that little step ahead of the field all the way.
Champion's drive from Carlos Sainz Jr. I'll say it, I can't see him losing it from here. He deserves it. That was world class, his 7th win of the year, and he was absolutely dominant. He drove the wheels off that thing. That was not easy. Pierre Gasly, please win one in Jerez. He's always been the bridesmaid, and he deserves it. Ollie Rowland, that was a good reward for a luckless weekend, and it just shows what he would have done had he had a car or some luck in qualifying. And I don't think he had the ultimate race pace to challenge Carlos Sainz Jr. No one did this weekend, but pleased to see Ollie Rowland on the podium.
Of course, the last time we were in Spain, Ollie Rowland was a race winner, so he'll be looking forward to going to Spain, I should think, for a 2nd time this season. He heads on to the podium again, which will be his 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th podium of the season. So, yeah, a good way to finish his weekend. 3rd behind Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz. Sainz winning by 12.6 seconds and 20 seconds pretty much covering the top 3. And Roberto Meri, well, barring major disaster for Carlos Sainz, Meri's championship challenge is probably going to be put back in its box after the 1st race of our deciding weekend. So again, you'll be able to see the Formula Renault 3.5 races live on Eurosports from Jerez, and the 2-litre Renault Euro Cup races in the evening. So lots to conjure with there, and of course the 2-litre championship also is starting to look more under the control of Nick de Vries. A dominant win yesterday puts the Dutchman, like Sainz, right in the driving seat, and he has to go out and do the same again here today in hot and sunny weather, and Sainz has shown just how it can and indeed should be done.
I think that was Gasly, wasn't it?
That might
that was
that
Gasly.
was, yeah.
Direct to pick the wrong Red Bull car.
Wrong Red Bull car, easy mistake to make. That was the Daniel Ricciardo one. So yeah, Sainz, he's like everybody else. We said before, you know, everybody else who's won this championship has had fluctuating form. But last year, Kevin Magnussen winning it with a dominant start and a dominant finish to the season. Robert Friens has had the same. Robert Wickens, former champions, Michaela Leishin, Bertrand Baguette, none of them just won every race at every weekend. Right from the start, when Robert Kubica won the first championship back in 2005, it has ebbed and flowed because the title race is long, the circuits you go to are varied, and of course everybody else potentially has exactly the same equipment. So unless you are absolutely perfect,
Carlos,
they can be
great day,
quicker.
many congratulations. What's the start, the key of the day?
Yeah, I would say the start was a big part of the job that we have done today. Anyway, we showed a very good pace through the whole race. So we already knew from quali that we had even a bit more advantage than yesterday. Even if we did second, we knew that we had some time on the back because of the red flag. So finally we managed to do everything perfect at the start. It was the key, and then we managed to pull away, setting really good laps, especially towards the end. So I cannot be more grateful for the job that we have done so far. Congratulate Dams, because it's an amazing comeback after a difficult weekend in Budapest, and to win these two races was very special.
As you say, you win 2 races, you leave Paul Ricard with 50 points more. Shall we say today that the title looks good?
It looks good, but it's not finished yet. We need to go to Jerez as focused as we have come here to Paul Ricard. Jerez is my home track, so I will try my best to do what I have done here. To manage to win there is my main goal, and then we will see where we are in the championship, but it looks good.
Well, that really was a superb champions performance from Carlos Sainz. From the moment the lights went out, well, there was only a tenth between him and Pierre Gasly in qualifying pace anyway, so he was always going to be a thorn in Gasly's side, but he got a better start and took the lead into the first corner. And really from there on, I mean, he just stamped his mark on this race. He dominated in the way that he did yesterday from pole position.
Yeah, don't for 1 minute think that that was easy. He's absolutely driven the wheels off that Dams machine, and every single lap was a qualifying lap. He wants this crown, and he's back. And as I said yesterday, Carlos Sainz Jr. with his tail up, he's a very, very difficult man to beat.
Big day for Jazeman Jaffar, really showed great pace, very inventive there, trying to get by Pierre Gasly for second. It didn't work for him in the end. He finished in 5th behind Roberto Meri. And this track, this Paul Ricard circuit, does really lend itself to overtaking. For Roberto Meri and Pierre Gasly, well, definitely for Meri, you've got to think, why were they leaving him out there quite so long before making the pit stop? They could have got him out from under the pressure of Jazeman Jaffar, but they didn't. And Jaffar, similarly, Mathieu Vazavier, got to be looking to their pit wall going, really, what was going on with that? What was that all about? Because the man coming down the straight in this shot, Ollie Rowland, very nearly had second in front of Gasly, and that would have been major dropping of the ball by Arden. They got away with that by the skin of their teeth, Tom.
Yeah, they did, but I think they had it in hand. But it was a bit close, bit squeaky bum, wasn't it?
It was. It was. That was closer than Pierre Gasly would have liked. You know, again, if he'd come in a couple of laps earlier, Rowland would have had less time to catch him in clear air. As it was, Carlos Sainz was able to build up the cushion he needed to give his guys an easy ride in the pit stops. Again, for the team, it wasn't easy because they had the pressure of not blowing a big lead and a guaranteed win. And Sainz had to drive the car as well. There are no easy takes in this championship. And anybody who ends up winning this title, as Carlos Sainz seems likely to, knows that they've done one hell of a job. And Spanish drivers first and second in the points. We have not had a Spanish champion in World Series by Renault up until now, but guaranteed we will, unless there's mass disqualifications for something that we've not come across. And Dams, last year's championship team with Kevin Magnussen, and they won the team's title as well. They look like they're going to do the double again here. Once more, Jean-Paul Driot's squad are on imperious form.
Absolutely, they are. The highlight of the weekend then, I've just got my